Hello! So the first 2 weeks of September, I was on holiday and I decided I wanted to make some sweaters myself. Recently I had a color analysis done and I have a whole swatch of colors that apparently fit my hair color and face and stuff best. Apparently I'm a warm autumn type and this color blue is a blue that apparently really matches me. So instead of trying to find sweaters that are in the right shape and color and stuff as what I'm looking for, I would just make them myself, and I needed a project to do while I was on holiday. So I decided I would buy some yarn online so I could make this one. And I made a different one as well, but I'm still working on that right now. I saw a pattern online on Drops Design. I've used this website before and I've made some sweaters off of this website before. But for some reason, this sweater that I picked out was the hardest pattern to follow that I have ever had. I've been knitting for, I think, about 20 years and never have I struggled this much on a pattern. Every single step I had to take, I felt like I was doing it wrong. And I had to frog so much of it that I was ready to give up. I've never had that before, but because I bought the yarn specifically for this project, I really persevered and I did end up making the sweater. I'm wearing it right now, by the way. But it was such a struggle. And I saw that a lot of people left comments as well, and people that are behind Drops Design tried to answer the questions as well as possible. But I always saw them too late. I was already stuck on something. For example, when I had to do the raglan stitch to increase toward the shoulder, it kept on going and I ended up with this like conical shape that was way too long. Traffic cone basically, and I was like, this isn't right. So then I went back to the pattern and it turns out I was doing it wrong because the instructions were unclear to me. But I've never had so much issues with following a pattern. So I thought I would make this video to help people that are struggling with it and are like ready to give up. We'll go through the pattern together and I will give feedback on which steps I struggled with, and I will tell you how I did it instead in case you cannot figure out how to do it. Okay, so I've pulled up the pattern. So this sweater is called Meet the Captain and it was originally made in blue and white stripes. I think it does look more like a captain sweater if you make it in these colors, but I wanted a mix of two colors that would suit me, so I chose this combination. And I made it in a size medium. I didn't measure before. I'm the type of person that doesn't do that. I just go, I don't think I'm small. I think I will be a medium, and I'm quite right. This really fits me really well. I can provide measurements if you need them if you still are unsure. So I will go over the yarn I used as well because the properties of the yarn of course make a difference. I used the yarn that they recommended, the Drops Alaska, in a dark blue and not off-white but a brownish color. I did make, wait, what's it called? The swatch thing for the knitting tension. Usually I just skip that as well. I'm sorry if you're the type of person that's really... I once was contacted by someone who keeps all of their swatches in a folder so they can check which yarn, which needles. I don't do that. I usually don't make the swatch, but I did for this one. And the tension was exactly the same as the pattern said. So if you're medium and you have the same knitting tension, then this will fit.
Huh?
The instructions for the raglan right away, I didn't understand. I just looked up a tutorial on YouTube. There's the way that people like pick up a stitch from the row below and put it on the left needle and then knit it. And then after the increase, you pick up a stitch from the left row and knit it like that. And that's how I did my raglan stitches. I didn't add like a loop that I knitted afterwards. I couldn't figure it out. I was working on the border, and then you have to do a little bit in the back. There's a part in the back where you have to do a few extra rows to make like the shape of the neck a bit higher than the front. And I just finished that, and then I got so confused on doing the raglan stitches and I had to frog it again and had to start over, and I just couldn't do it. So I went to YouTube and the tutorial helped me out and I never looked back. So if you've done raglan before, you can do it your way, but I couldn't figure it out based on this pattern. Working as follows from the wrong side. What was going on? I don't know. Cast on, in my case, 92 stitches using short and circular needles, 5 and 4 held together. What do they mean by that? They really want you to cast on your stitches doing these two together and like do it on double the size needle. I think if you have a needle 9, I have this little packet that I use, but I have a needle 8. This is the biggest one. I think you could just use one of these, but the goal is basically to have your starting loops to be pretty big so that when you finally pick up, like, you have to fold this and then attach it to the back, knitting it. If your loops are too small, then the neck won't be stretchy, so you can put it on. It might be too small, so they really want you to have big starting loops. That already threw me for a loop at the start, but anyway. And then the neck itself is pretty straightforward. You just use the stocking stitch that they detail in the pattern for a long time because it takes a while. So far so good. Here you have to fold the neckline double. You work every 4th stitch with its corresponding stitch on the cast on edge. So you fold it inwards, and then every 4th stitch you knit along, and that's really handy if the loops are big, so you can easily pick up the stitches. Make sure that you match the knit stitch with the knit stitch at the back so the neck doesn't get twisted. Pretty straightforward stuff, but here's where it got confusing to me.
What the hell?
You have to put in 4 markers as you increase 4 stitches. So here's the start of the raglan line. At first I was just putting the marker in the next stitch, but then I had 4 left. I didn't realize that you have to treat the 1 stitch as a separate stitch. It's like where the middle of the raglan line will be. You never have to do anything to it except it being like the indicator stitch of where the raglan line is. Confused me a lot at the start. Knit 12 and increase 1 stitch. Insert a marker, the first marker, in the next stitch. So this is counted as 1 stitch, 1 separate stitch. You do the 12, you increase, you put a marker in the next stitch, and then you knit 21 more. You insert a marker in the next stitch, so you knit it, you put a marker in, and then you do 23 more. You increase, I divide it, and then I calculate so that they're like evenly divided. You put marker 3 in the next stitch, so that's 1 separate again. And then 21 more for the sleeve, 1 stitch, 1 marker, and then you do the 11 last one. Then you do the raglan. This is a bit tricky to do the increases right because you're working on the wrong side, but the pattern is pretty okay if you do the raglan according to the tutorial that I found on YouTube. Now we're at the yoke.
I come to make an announcement. Shadow the Hedgehog's a bitch-ass motherfucker.
So for the yoke, I had trouble again. The main gist is you have to increase for the raglan every 2nd round. So you do 1 round of increases, you do 1 round just knitting every stitch. And at the same time, when you reach 13 centimeters from the neck, you have to start doing the stripes. The stripes are 5 lines of, in my case, brown, in their case, white. And in between is 8 lines of blue in both mine and their sweater. The first line is the most important, and then afterwards you can just count the lines so you know where you have to switch. You have to do that, in my case, 8 times. And then the next part really confused me. It goes, continue working and increasing for raglan. Every 2nd increase is only the body, 4 stitches increased, i.e. increase for the body every 2nd round, for the sleeves every 4th round. So what I did was, my first round was just every stitch, knit 1 on 1. The 2nd round I increased for the body, so that was on this side of the marker, this side of the marker, and then at the back side of the sweater and this back side of the sweater. And then the 3rd round I did just 1 on 1, knitting 1 stitch in every stitch. And then in the 4th round I only increased for the sleeves, so I increase on this side of the marker and on this side of the marker, and the same for the back. That's not how it works.
Watch me fight for my life in the edit because I realized I still said it wrong when I was filming this.
You have to, the first round is just knitting 1 on 1, no increases. The 2nd round only increase for the body. Then you do 1 round of just knitting. And then on the 4th round, you increase on body and the sleeves. If you don't do it that way and you just go one side, other side, one side, other side, it's way too long. I was on like my 3rd or 4th stripe and I was like, these shoulders take forever. Why doesn't it split up? The way they write it out is really confusing. So it goes,
I had to massively doctor that clip to make it work, so I just wanted to recap one final time. The first line, you knit every stitch 1 on 1, no increases. The 2nd line, you increase only for the body. The 3rd line, you knit every stitch 1 on 1, no increases again. And the 4th line, you increase for both the body and the sleeve, so on all sides of the marker.
And that's the only way that the increase totals actually match pattern. But it took me so long to realize. I was just like, trust the process, but no way, man. And from there on, it gets easier again.
Please keep your hands and glacks inside.
You just continue with the stocking stitch and the stripe until you're at the right place, in my case 23 centimeters from the mid-front. And then you start dividing your work for the sleeves. You thread a needle and then you put the thread through each stitch. And you just take them off your working needle and put them on a separate thread. Then you cast on 6 under the sleeve, and then you just work the rest of the stitches of the back panel and cast on 6 again and start working the front, so you create like a smaller circle where the sleeves are just on separate threads. So you just continue working the color work, as I said, until you reach 28 centimeters, and then you switch to the smaller needles. You increase a few stitches so that the ribbing is the correct amount of stitches, and then you just work the ribbing stitch and your body is done. And I feel like the sleeves were pretty straightforward as well. I just make sure when I cast off that I cast off the knit stitch knitwise and the purl stitch purlwise, because then it looks pretty clean at the end. And that's the instruction on the sweater. I feel like there should have been a second draft of this, and a lot of people are struggling with the same things in the comments. For the medium size, you start with 92 stitches and then you increase equals 96, makes sense. But if you place the markers as described in the pattern, you have 12, 21, 23, 21, 11, 88, and then increase 4, 92. So then you have 4 extra stitches on the back piece. That's exactly the issue I had. They basically go, you have to treat the marker stitches as one stitch. The stitches with markers are in the transitions between sleeves and front back pieces and don't count as either part of them at the start of the neckline and raglan. This should have been included in the pattern. It was too late for me. I didn't see it. I only saw it when I was struggling, so why didn't you include it in the pattern? Same question. The count doesn't add up. Everyone has the same issue. Someone else said, I find the explanation for raglan very confusing, at least for a newbie. The description of raglan at the beginning of the pattern, the one given for the neckline part and the one in the video are all different approaches. Don't get me started on the video. It's way too fast and it's too general. It's for every single pattern they have, you can use the same video. It added more confusion. So I tried to look at the video and I didn't understand it, and that's when I went to YouTube and I was like, oh, I'll just find my own thing, because what the fuck. Video is only a visual guide since it's used for many patterns, so the number of stitches may not match this specific pattern. No, just use YouTube, man. Can you explain how to increase the 6 stitches after you divide the work for the sleeves? They have a video for casting on, but I just make 6 loops on my needle and knit them. Someone said, instructions are terrible after you do the neck. Yeah, no comment. Basically, once you try a pattern off of this website, look at the comments first before you make mistakes. Their free patterns suffer from the same issues. They're not too easy to read for new knitters. The way they write it is really not too straightforward even if you are experienced. So if you want to support me, you can follow me on Instagram. I post results of my patterns there, but also just like any pattern that I've made that I really like. If you want me to make more of these, please let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped in any way. If you finish the sweater, also let me know. If it's thanks to my tips, send me a picture. I want to see the result of your sweater. All right, bye. Thanks for watching.